So, welcome everybody to another week of the big question. And Kate, tell me, in our little question, what have we got for people this week?
So after Rena's absolutely crushing debate on Sally Rooney being better than Jane Austen last week, the
Shocking.
people of Twitter have spoken. So the options this week were city life versus country life, Jaffa cake, cake or biscuit, and evolution versus creationism.
I bet we got evolution versus creationism, did we?
We got the greatest debate of all time. Jaffa cakes.
Jaffa cakes, cake or biscuit. Okay, I have my very trusty, very large, very complex die here. And Kate, I'm actually, which would you prefer to debate on?
I would prefer to debate that Jaffa cakes are a cake.
Right, okay, so if you get a which consonant or vowel?
Go consonant.
Okay, so if a consonant rolls, you get to debate the Jaffa cakes are in fact a cake.
Okay.
Are you ready? And you got a consonant, an R for Rena. Now, very lucky for Kate. So you are going to be debating that hot topic. Also on today's show, that is not all. Also on today's show, we're very excited to invite the fabulous Yannick Schulte, who is from Sail Explorers, who is going to debate a very important topic. And do you know, by any chance, Yannick, what your topic of today is that you're going to step up on that soapbox and talk about?
So we're going to try and find out whether it is possible to have a valuable volunteering experience virtually. So whether it's possible for us to have a good experience volunteering basically at a distance over the internet.
Amazing. And I also heard a little birdie told me as well, and I discovered this to actually be true, because all my bananas packed their bags this morning and they've actually left the house. And do you know why? Because what are you planning today to do to a poor banana?
So as an exercise to kind of simulate volunteering online, we're going to extract some banana DNA today with things that we can generally find in our own homes.
That sounds very exciting. And later on in the programme, Kate, in our theatre programme, tell us about what our monologue this week is going to be.
Okay, so this week's monologue is coming from me. I'm very sorry to the world who has to watch it. It is from a play called The Lady and the Clarinet. So it's quite funny.
Fantastic. And I have to say now, from having seen you perform before, Kate, people are in for a big treat. There's no apologies to be given there. I think people are very, very lucky. So anyway, that's the lineup of what we have for you today. And as always, of course, we will be breaking into our breakout rooms where our attendees will get to grapple with that very important question. Is it in fact possible to have a meaningful volunteer experience virtually? And we will come back in the end with an answer, which we will vote on. And we have found answers to such important questions as, will COVID-19 kill theatre? And Kate, what was the response?
The response is that it will not.
Exactly. And then, Kate, we also had the very important debate. Is it time to return to nature? And what did we discover?
It is, in fact, time to return to nature.
In fact, yes. So in the tradition of great debating, we are going to start off with the very important topic where we get 1 minute each. Kate is going to use her trusty timer. And I think in the interest of fairness this week, since I now have to debate on whether Jaffa cake is in fact a biscuit, when it says it in the name, that I should in fact be let go first this week.
Okay.
And audience, please be ready to vote so we can actually find out whether Jaffa cake is in fact a cake or a biscuit. So let me know when I'm ready to go.
Alrighty, 3, 2, 1.
Well, in fact, Jaffa cakes are in fact biscuits. You will always find them in the biscuit aisle. Now, while they do call themselves cakes and they have a softness that might suggest they're cakes, their roundness and their flatness are much more biscuit-like. They're the type of thing that you'd have with a cup of tea, whether it's half moon, or in fact, if you're greedy, full moon. So I would think that it's not really a debate, it's more a fait accompli. Jaffa cakes, confusion in the name, should in fact be called Jaffa biscuits, because there are in fact Jaffa cakes that are a different shape. They're like little logs and they're soft and they've got that lovely orangey thing happening in the middle. But a Jaffa cake, as we already know it, is in fact a biscuit in a biscuit packaging and is bought when you buy biscuits. Thank you.
Okay, with 3 seconds to spare.
On the things I could have said in 3 seconds.
Okay, my turn. Okay, so as Rena has already pointed out, Jaffa cake, the hint is in the name, it is a cake. Now, if you were to look at the McVitie's website, McVitie's, of course, famously known for their biscuits, but they will call themselves a cake and biscuit company. They have very, very, very limited stock of what they would consider cakes, but one of them is a Jaffa cake. Why would they call themselves a cake and biscuit company if they weren't really selling cakes? I beg the question, Jaffa cakes should absolutely be considered a cake. Would you dip them in their tea? Absolutely not. They're not a digestive or a butter biscuit or a bourbon that you can do that with. This is sponge and jelly. Have you ever tried to make a Jaffa cake? I can tell you firsthand that I have, and it is very much a cake mixture. So why are we calling it a biscuit? It doesn't crunch, you can't dip it in your tea, and the company itself calls it a cake. Thank you.
I applaud you with the thoroughness with which you shared that very great insightfulness, but I still hold to the truth that it's in fact a cake. But we will put it to the audience and we will all vote. So I'm just going to bring up my poll now. And I'm launching the poll. And now I need people to vote. And end poll. And shared the results. And I am shocked. People, I am in fact shocked. So far we have now on our third debate, Kate has in fact proven that Shakespeare is in fact better than Tarantino. I did prove that Sally Rooney is better than Jane Austen, though that pained me. And today, much to my chagrin and indeed great shock and disappointment, Kate has won again, proving that Jaffa cakes are in fact cake. So next time you go out to buy biscuits, don't come home with cake. That is our word of wisdom for today. And now, without further ado, I am delighted to welcome the representative of Cell Explorers. Yannick is going to come and talk to us. But first of all, Yannick, I actually have a very nice little video to share with you that you sent me earlier about what exactly Cell Explorers is. So bear with me for one moment while I share my screen and play this very insightful and enlightening video.
Do you know who scientists really are? Most of us, like school children, would probably say something like this.
Scientists live in their own world.
A scientist works in a lab, they make projects and they wear goggles. To me, scientists are bald with hair sticking out of the sides of their hair.
He's kind of crazy, talking always quickly.
These stereotypes may have been accurate in the past, but Cell Explorers is smashing these preconceptions every day.
I'm a third-year biochemistry student, and the reason why I wanted to get involved with Cell Explorers was because, first of all, I love working with kids. I wanted to improve my lab communication, experiment preparation, and demonstration skills.
We take training of our demonstrators very seriously at Cell Explorers, and we ensure that they've all achieved the same high standard of training before they entered schools.
I volunteered at Cell Explorers for the last 2 years. To pick out just one memory that has stood out to me would just be impossible, because I've had so much fun being part of Cell Explorers over the last few years.
I was working on the fantastic DNA experiment, and at the end of each session, we gave the kids a little quiz with about 5 questions, and it was basically like a reflection on how well I communicated the experiment to them as a demonstrator, and I got really good results from my group, so that really boosted my confidence in being able to demonstrate an experiment, and also my communication skills, because obviously they did really well, so that means that they understood what I was teaching them. So that's really good. That was a really good outcome for me.
Personally, I've developed skills in public speaking and organisation, and I feel I'm a much more confident person in myself after partaking in Cell Explorers.
One unique aspect of the Cell Explorers program is that we incorporate real scientists as our demonstrators. So this includes both undergraduate, postgraduate, staff and science researchers.
Some of the skills I've gained and the experience in science communication, which is an ever-growing area, interviewers always ask about it. They're so impressed by it. It's something that really stands out.
By providing real-life examples of scientists who are, at the end of the day, normal people, this helps to address and hopefully bust these stereotypical images of the mad, crazy scientist.
And this is how they do it.
A scientist is someone who loves learning about the planet.
Because we were like mini scientists and helping them, they taught us the fun of science. When I grow up, I want to be a scientist.
Sarah, thank you very much for joining us today. So what the next part of our chat is when the Cell Explorers representatives, and that could be both of you, get an opportunity to explain to us whether or not you believe that it's possible to have a meaningful experience volunteering in a virtual world. So which of you want to start off?
Sure, why don't I start out? So as you saw from the video, what like Cell Explorers, a lot of what we're about is very close, but we work very closely with the children or the people that we meet in our workshops. It's all about small group demonstrations and establishing a really good rapport between the scientists, i.e. our volunteers, and the people, participants in our workshop. So currently, obviously, it's not possible to do that for us, and increasingly everything is happening virtually. So what we want to try and find out is whether it's possible for us to have meaningful volunteering experiences virtually, and that goes both for the volunteers. So the video introduced a little bit what the benefits are that volunteers could reap from volunteering, whether it's personal ones like public speaking skills, or more tangible things like team leading, or just things that they want to have on their CV, to the participants, whether the experiments have the same desired effect, whether we can still establish a similar rapport between participants and scientists, and whether we essentially can achieve our end goals. And to explore this a little bit today, we're going to do basically a workshop that we've been developing that we can do virtually. So we're going to extract some banana DNA using things that are largely present in most people's households, I guess. So I'll demonstrate that to you. If anyone has the necessary things handy, you're welcome to work along. Hopefully we'll see some DNA, although this workshop is still a little bit in its infancy, so we may or may not see some DNA. But hopefully then it'll put into perspective what a workshop would be like, and we can have a little discussion on whether you think the volunteers and the participants would benefit from it, and if so, would it be to a similar, the same, or lesser extent than if this workshop would be demonstrated in person in small groups with, I guess, real laboratory equipment.
Excellent. And Sarah, you've been involved in Cell Explorers, and what are your thoughts? Are you concerned or worried? Do you think there's a way in which we can actually make this happen?
Well, I think the important thing is, when you think about what creates a meaningful experience, and I'm always kind of cautioned not to just think about, the children or the public. What makes it, in my opinion, a meaningful volunteer experience is that two-way interaction between the volunteers and the children and the public, because that's what makes it kind of a magical experience for everybody, kind of a real moment. So with, even though we all have like Zoom now and Skype and everything, and it's very easy to facilitate, as we just saw, with like polls and even just waving hands and adding little questions and stuff. I think it's really important to utilize those tools that are available to try to keep that interaction going. And then I also think it's important that, like, once a session is over, like however it's facilitated, that you still try to create that volunteer community within the volunteers, so that volunteers can still share their experiences and make friends and everything, even though they may not physically be in the same room. So I think it's less about, can a virtual experience be exactly the same as a physical experience? It's going to be different, but I think it's useful to try to pick out or prioritize what kind of favorable outcomes you want for both the volunteers and the participants, and just do your best to use the tools you have available to achieve those.
Oh, thank you very much, Sarah. I actually got an email from from Susan from the Entrepreneurship Society, and she'd sent out a very interesting email about volunteering, and she was saying that COVID Interns is a recently established not-for-profit initiative connecting volunteer students and graduates with small businesses struggling to cope commercially with the pandemic, and that many businesses are facing closure, drastic falls in income due to social distancing regulations, and an overall deterioration of the economy. And many small businesses need to pivot fundamentally to survive, and young people can help business to do exactly that with only a handful of volunteer hours a week. So they were saying, if you have any skills, experience, or enthusiasm, and you believe you could help a small business thrive over summer placement, check out covidinterns.com, and then you just send your CV to covidinterns@gmail.com, and they will connect you with the type of business that needs your help. So obviously, while I think Sarah's absolutely correct, the situation is terribly different, but when you fundamentally look at what is achieved from volunteering, and see, can you create some of those as in the meaningful interactions that the volunteers have, what volunteers learn, what volunteers bring to the host organisations that they're volunteering with. So I suppose the way in seeing, can you make that meaningful? But I don't know, Kate, have you any thoughts on that before we turn over to finding a poor banana somewhere and seeing whether it's actually guilty of the crime? Isn't that why you'd want to know its DNA? Can we do DNA matches and see if it is in fact the murderer?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything Sarah said. I do think, it's important to look at the outcome, what it is you're trying to gain from doing this. And if you can still achieve those, then, why shouldn't it be just as meaningful? But yeah, I think it's very important to recognize that the difference is the way you get to that end point is going to be vastly different now in this world, but that shouldn't detract from the experience you have if you can get to where you want to be with it.
Wonderful. So without further ado, I'm going to turn back to you, Yannick, because you're going to bring us on the great adventure of banana DNA extraction.
Brilliant. So I guess to start, this workshop we're still developing to basically run it virtually. So I'm going to tilt up my laptop a little bit and I'll go through. Can you see this area in front of me? Brilliant. Yeah. And so you can see me work, and we'll go through kind of the general ingredients of what we need. So we're trying to keep this experiment as robust as possible to make sure that as many people can do it. So we're keeping the kind of ingredients list a little bit open. So first, I have 2 glasses here. Alternatively, you could use a glass and like a plastic sandwich bag. I'm using 2 glasses here to keep my waist down a little bit. Then I have a teaspoon for stirring, about 100 milliliters of water. I have some soap, so just some normal run-of-the-mill dish soap. Half a banana, and we have, I have a full banana, but it would be half a banana. We have kitchen roll. Alternatively to kitchen roll, we could use J-cloths or coffee filters. What's handy here is also an elastic band or a hair tie. Then we're going to need something to manipulate the DNA later. So for that, you can use a toothpick. But Sarah found out the last day that spaghetti strands, or in this case, linguine, works quite well for that as well. And then we're going to need some sort of a spirit. So I have surgical spirit here, which is available just over the counter in pharmacies. Alternatively, we can use a non-gelling hand sanitizer. So this is actually a gelling one, but I believe Sarah there has a non-gelling one, which is basically just a liquid. It's basically an ethanol solution. And what you can also use, what's available in hardware stores, would be methylated spirits. This works very well, but we'd probably prefer to use the other two, just because they're a little bit more environmentally friendly as well. The methylated spirits also smell quite bad. So I guess I'll get right into it. So what we want to do is we want to extract some DNA from the banana. So as we know, all living things are made out of the simple building blocks called cells. And the cells have a central portion called the nucleus, in which the DNA is contained. So the DNA is basically like the instruction booklet for the cells, which includes all the information that it takes to make basically whatever, all the information to make a banana or a human or whatever it's a part of. So to start the experiment, we're going to get about half of the banana, if I can open this one. Half the banana, and we're going to stick it into one of the glasses. Now, at this step, if you don't have a second glass, you could put the half banana into a plastic sandwich bag and mush it up between your fingers. I'm going to use a teaspoon here to just gently squish it up. The reason we're squishing this up is to start mechanically breaking the cells apart. So we just want to do this, doesn't need to be too thorough. We just want to break everything up, kind of have this kind of a banana puree, I guess. So I'll leave that aside for the moment. And next we'll get our water. So I have about 100 mils of water here, roughly measured out. And to that, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt, just normal table salt, usually used for cooking, and dissolve it in the water. So what this is creating is basically a saline solution, which we're going to add to the squished up banana. And what this will do is it'll make everything a little bit more liquid, and also the salt in the solution helps to clump the DNA together a little bit to make it easier to isolate larger amounts of it in a few minutes. So this is room temperature water, it should dissolve quite quickly. And at this point, I'm going to add it to my squished up banana and give it another quick stir and really mix everything up. So this part is quite a lot of fun. Well, I guess this part is, people either love it or hate it, but personally I think it's quite fun. So now we have this lovely solution of mashed up banana and saline solution. And so obviously we have free floating cells in here being clumped together by the saline, but we also have the really big banana clumps. And we kind of want to get rid of those. So at this point, we want to filter those out. So for that, I'm going to use kitchen roll. Alternatively, you can use something like a J-cloth or a coffee filter from like a coffee percolator. If you're using kind of branded, I guess, or more expensive kitchen roll, 1 single sheet might be enough. Mine's kind of cheaper, thinner stuff, so I'm going to use 2 sheets. Fold them in half, and then I'm going to fold them twice into like a little triangle, like so. So we have this kind of a triangle that has got loads of layers on the top. I'm going to peel one of those layers away and make a cone. And then I have a second glass here that I'm going to stick that cone into. At this point, it would be handy if you had an elastic bag or a elastic band or a hair tie to tie that onto the glass. I don't have one handy at the moment, so I'm just going to hold on to it. So I'm going to take my banana saline solution mix and gently pour it into my filter up here. I'm going to be careful not to fill it too much as to avoid the tissue breaking and all of the banana falling in down below. So we want to extract a little bit, like maybe about 20 to 30 millimeters or so. Like I'm going to say about 2 centimeters in the bottom of my glass. So as the banana solution filters through, I'm just going to top it up as we go on. So this is kind of the point where all we can do is really wait. And what we can see in the bottom here is a clear solution coming through. So this solution is basically just the saline, but also banana cells without any clumps. So without any, just loose singular banana cells without any big clumps of banana. So what we need to do next is the cells in here are all in suspension, but we still have what's called the cell membrane surrounding the cell. So the cells are still intact. So it's basically the skin of the cells which will protect the cells, hold them together. But we need to break that cell membrane down to release the DNA that's on the inside of the cells. And to do that, we're going to use the dish soap, because the cell membrane is actually largely fat-based. The technical term for it is a lipid, phospholipid bilayer or something. The exact term escapes me right now. But we have right around enough of the filtrate, of the filtered solution in the bottom of the glass. So I'm going to gently lift out my filter or the paper towel and discard it. I'm going to add about 2 drops of the dish soap and give it a good stir without making too many bubbles. I just want it to dissolve into my solution nicely and let it break up all the cell membranes. So both the membrane of the cell and the nucleus are both largely fat-based, so the soap is currently working on breaking them up. So what we have now is, basically what we have here is just our clear saline solution with the soap and the banana cells which have been broken open. And the DNA has now been released into the solution. But, well, we can't see it yet. And we can't see it not just because it's the DNA is very, very small. Yes, it is very, very small, but in fact, there is an awful lot of it. In fact, in a single cell, there's about enough DNA that if you were to unravel it all, it would be about 1.8 meters long. So there should be a huge amount of DNA in here. The reason we can't see it is because DNA is actually water soluble, which means it dissolves in water. So we need something that the water or that the DNA can't dissolve in, which we have here in the form of this surgical spirit. So the surgical spirit, which is available, as I said, over the counter in most pharmacies, is basically an ethanol solution, either an ethanol solution or a methylated spirit solution. And what we're going to do with it, open it, and just fill our glass with the DNA solution in it, and really gently pour the surgical spirit over, the surgical spirit, or alternatively the methylated spirit or the hand sanitizer, and really slowly pour it over to make like a layer. So it just sits above the water. So when poured slowly, the two don't actually mix. So all we need is I'm not sure if you can see this, but we have like a small layer above this stage. I'm just going to tilt this back down. I might be able to show it a little bit better like this. So I'm not sure if you can see that, but we have down here, we have our water-based, our saline solution-based solution with all the lyse cells and the DNA in it. And sitting above it here, we have the surgical spirit. And if you can see, use my little pointer here, we have all these little bubbles rising up into that area there, all this kind of stringy stuff around it. So that's actually the DNA that's coming up out of the solution. It's called precipitation, that it's precipitating out of the water-based into the ethanol-based solution. And what we can actually do is, if you have a spaghetti like I do, or a linguine, or a toothpick, or a safety pin, or a paper clip that you open up, you can actually go in and gently manipulate that and pull it out, and you'll be able to see all that kind of stringy stuff. And you can kind of gather it up and see it there. It's a very gelatinous kind of stuff, stringy, gelatinous, bubbly stuff, and that's actually the DNA. So that just shows that we can extract DNA at home with things that you and I likely are to have in our kitchens or in our houses. So that's it, really.
That was amazing. And I just realized that science is so cool, because obviously used the washing up liquid to break down the membrane of the cell. Isn't that correct? And of course, this is why we've all been washing our hands with COVID-19, because it breaks down the cell, doesn't it, of the virus?
And so just there, the hand washing for COVID-19 works a little differently, because COVID-19 is caused by a virus, so it doesn't have a cell membrane like a cell does.
Yeah.
So the way that works, the way soap works, is it has a different action to what's happening here with the cell. So what soap does is it basically kind of gathers, it kind of attracts dirt and kind of gathers other things together. So what it does, it kind of links the viral particles or whatever together, so that you can easily slough them off your hands. So it's not that it's like exploding the virus or anything like that. It just makes it easier to actually just get off your hands.
Cool. Well, that was a very useful piece of science. That was science for you people.
But it is the same reason. It is the same reason why we use liquid soap to help wash our dishes, because often we're trying to get like grease and stuff off of our dishes. So it's the soap that breaks down the fats and the grease when we wash dishes.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, I would personally now, I don't know what you thought, Kate, but I thought that was a very good demonstration. And then if you did have, obviously, your children and your volunteers with you, you'd be able to stop at each section and get people to show where they were and see how they were getting on. We attempted in another program to make an origami dog, and we actually failed miserably. We actually couldn't, but our failure was actually hilarious, and we had great fun failing. And we were watching a video that was going too fast. So if the children were just watching that video there, it should possibly go too fast for them. But because it's happening live, and there's somebody they can stop and ask questions of, and it could of course be broken into smaller rooms with your volunteers, could be broken into smaller rooms with smaller groups of children, and then they could come back into the big room and everybody could show off their gelatinous DNA cells. So I think that it could be a very meaningful experience. What do you think, Kate?
I agree. Like I felt like I was in school again, like learning cool experiments like way back when. I was like, wow, that's so cool. I don't think, certainly for a child, definitely I would have been wildly impressed with that, regardless of whether it was happening live or on a screen. Out of interest, what kind of age group would you recommend an experiment like that for?
So we largely work with primary school children. So when we're actually visiting schools, our roadshow visits largely kind of senior cycle primary schools, so 4th to 6th class. But we do have the program really with all ages, primary school and secondary school up to junior cert. And if the interest is there, like we have different versions of the program at different kind of difficulty levels with different contents, I guess, but it's generally the same experiments for quite a wide variety of ages.
Okay, like I have a 9-year-old niece downstairs, and I wish I had done it with her, because she would have been delighted to have done something like that. So I must do it with her some other time.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I thought, Sarah, your comment there on how would we get the volunteers still having fun and all the rest. So we've been doing a lot of icebreakers and games like that. So I thought now that we're here together, we'd try one if you'd be interested.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
So since we don't, I know yourself and Yannick possibly know each other. And
we can pretend otherwise.
And Kate and I possibly know each other, so we have to dig deep. But what I want you to dig deep for is, and you can unmute yourself as well there, Yannick, is we're going to dig deep and you're going to say 3 things, 2 truths and 1 lie. And we have to figure out, we'll all get to guess. So we can go, see we've got our reactions here. So if we think that what the person is saying is, we'll go 1, 2, 3, you know, say you have 3 things. Is the first one a truth or a lie? We'll do clap hands for truth and thumbs up for a lie. So everybody take a moment now to come up with 2 truths and a lie that will be devious. And Kate, we obviously have to try not to do ones that we know about each other already. So, how's everybody doing?
Okay.
I think I'm ready.
I think I have it.
Very good. Well, we'll start off with you there, Yannick. Now remember, we're going to say 3 things and we're going to ask you number 1, we'll all vote whether it's true or false, number 2 and number 3, and then you'll reveal to us which of this is correct.
Okay. So first statement is, my favorite color is blue.
Can you tell us all 3 before we vote?
So first one, my favorite color is blue. Secondly, I like going fishing. And thirdly, one of my hobbies is breeding snakes.
Okay, so number 1, thumbs up if we think it's false or true.
Do I do that?
So do I say
Sarah,
it now?
not yet, no.
Wait, what do we do when if
So,
we think it's right or wrong?
So if you think it's right, you give it a clap, and if you think it's wrong, you give it a clap. Clap is we think it's correct, and we think it's a truth. So we've got you thought it was the truth, Kate, and both Sarah and I thought it was the lie. Okay, so your second one was you like fishing. So again, clapping is we think it's the truth. And Sarah, what about you?
Oh, I understand that. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so we all think that's true. So the third one is you breed snakes. I feel that you breed snakes. And Kate thinks that's the lie. So, and Sarah, what did you think was the lie?
That his favorite color is blue.
Okay, and I also thought that was the lie. So, Yannick, what is the lie?
So my favorite color is green.
Yay! So Sarah and Rena have a point each. Very good. So, sorry, Kate?
Actually like breeding snakes.
I do, yeah. I have a few. Don't tell my landlord, but I do have a few.
Oh, well, the landlord now, if they're watching Socks Box, big
different
question.
Yannick.
Find out. So, Kate, what are your 3?
Okay, so my first one is that I have a dog called Frodo.
Okay.
Second statement is I once ate a snail out of the garden.
Yeah.
And third statement, I was once an Olympic candidate.
Okay. So she has a dog called Frodo. So we go clap if we think it's yes, and thumbs up if we think it's not true. And Yannick, what do you think?
Wait,
okay, so we all think that's true. Okay, then you ate a snail. So both Sarah and I don't think that's, we all don't think that's true. Okay, and do we all believe you were an Olympic candidate? We do. What was the truth? The lie?
The lie was being an Olympic candidate. What I wanted.
None of us. So Kate,
You
by
duped us.
tricking us, you get 1 point. I thought with your equestrian things you could well have been.
I ended up in a discipline that's non-Olympic.
Devilishly clever question.
But not Olympic.
Very good. Sarah.
Okay, these are about buildings I visited. So
Ooh.
first one is I visited Ars Nocturne. The second is I visited the French Embassy in Dublin. And the third is I visited the White House.
Okay, so Áras an Uachtaráin, everybody vote.
My Zoom is pinballing, unfortunately.
Okay, so what do you say, true or false?
I'm going to say true.
Okay, then we've got the French Embassy. So I'm going to go no.
Yeah, I'm going to say false as well.
False, okay. And then for I'm going to say true for the White House. And Yannick is saying false, and Kate must be saying true. What was the lie?
The lie was Ars Nocturne.
Oh, so that gives you a point, Sarah. Now, my three are, I once counted cows' stomachs in an abattoir and discovered they did have 3 stomachs. I once, as purely as a scientific experiment, I once squished and explored a sheep's eyeball. And my third one is I have a scar on my upper lip from an accident when opening a tin of peaches.
Easily done.
So,
Very easily done.
So there is I once counted the 3 cow stomachs in an abattoir. Is that true or false? And Kate, what do you think?
I'm going to say that's true.
Okay, so Yannick thinks that's false. Okay, my second one was the sheep's eyeball. You think it's false, Sarah? What about you, Kate?
False, I think.
Okay, and my last one, I have a cut on my upper lip from an accident opening a tin of peaches. So, and Kate, do you think that's true or false?
True.
True. That is actually the false one. I do have a cut on my upper lip. It was from my poor father actually cutting it with the back of a scythe when he was cutting nettles.
Oh my God.
So at the end of that game, Sarah is our winner today.
Woo!
And Sarah, the amazing news is that there is €10 on its way for our winner. So at the end of that experience, we now have to think about whether or not we believe that you could have a meaningful volunteer experience virtually. So we've tried an experiment. We listened to both Yannick and Sarah speak very convincingly. And we then tried out a game which has made me feel that I know 2 people that I didn't know as well. But mind you, Yannick, when we were playing cards the last day, even though it was virtually, I found a lovely way to get to know somebody a little bit better. So I think that people want to communicate. I think it's just our default nature for most people. So therefore, I think creating the environment and the possibilities, and we just have to figure out how to be really creative virtually to make that happen and take the time and not think this is foolish carry on. Because it's not foolish carry on. Communicating is never foolish carry on. So what we do is I'm going to open up a whiteboard and we write, yes, it is possible to have a meaningful volunteering experience virtually, or no, it is not. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to share my whiteboard with you. And what you need to know is at the top of your screen, you'll see a green line, and there should be a little thing called more. Do you see that? And when you click on that, you'll see a thing called annotate, and out will pop a black bar with loads of things that you can do. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Very good. So we're going to go into the draw. Well, actually, you see the text tool. So you can either freehand draw yes or no, or you can write it with the text tool. So, and you'll also notice there are stamps, so you can actually put in hearts as well, which is nice. And you can also see that you can change your colors as well, which is very exciting. And then you're a bit confused and you want to ask questions. Yes, and then I think we should draw Yannick with his amazing earphones and his very cool hat. And oh, he has a beard as well. Hold on now. So we need to put on the beard. Oh, and a mustache. And
You look like a Viking.
there's a mouth in there somewhere. And Yannick, you said you like green, didn't you?
Indeed.
Yeah, so we're going to give you green eyes. Woo!
I do actually happen to have green eyes as well.
That is just surreal. And I'm
I'm going to have
just
to get a
going
print of that and hang it up in my house.
finish off now with your headphones properly on your head. And this also makes it possible to play, Pictionary very well.
Yeah.
Now, the good news is that I can actually save the whiteboard so that, Yannick, you will in fact get... Now, and I might actually just put in the question. So if you've any other comments to make on the board here, you can make them now. Or do a drawing. Oh, I've just thought of something that I need to draw very, very quickly. No, so that was our question. And you see, you've got a little thing called select, which allows you to move your things around. So I feel there's one thing that deserves to be drawn today. Hold on now. Yeah. Yeah, and I think possibly, let me see now if I can do this correctly. Yeah, because I'm sure that's how the banana felt. Oh yeah, and you can deepen the color by utilizing. Yeah, fantastic. And look at the beautiful DNA strands. They're very impressive. So I think that we can take that today in our big question, can you have a meaningful volunteering experience virtually? I think we have a resounding yes. And now I'm going to save this so that I can actually send it to you.
Thanks, Rena.
So that was just gorgeous, because Kate is going to tell us about her monologue.
So monologue is from a play called The Lady and the Clarinet by Michael Christopher, and it premiered in LA in 1980. It's about a woman who hires, a woman named Luba, who hires a clarinet player to provide background music for a special candlelight dinner with drinks. And while she's waiting for all her guests, she basically makes the clarinet player play a background music to her giving out about all the men she has dated over the years. There's only 3 of them. Her gawky first lover, gawky first lover, Paul, Jack, a married executive, and George, her eventual husband. The monologue is about Jack and how she went crazy that he wasn't giving her any attention, basically.
Don't give me that crap. You're all the same. Cut for the same piece of shints. I didn't hear from him again for 7 weeks. 7 weeks, not a phone call, nothing. Not even a message from his constipated secretary. She was having a field day. Very polite at first. No, I'm sorry. Mr. Everett isn't here today. Can I take a message? Very careful. Trying to sound like she didn't know who I was. Trying to sound like she didn't know I was the same person who called an hour ago. The same person who called 3 times yesterday and twice a day before that. And God knows how many humiliating times before that. I went down there one day. I went right to his office. Face it, I said to myself. Get it over with. Went into the building, up the elevator, up to the desk. The secretary is sitting there, guarding the door. She doesn't know who I am. We've never met. She says, "Can I help you?" And I freeze. I'm afraid to talk. I'm afraid she'll recognize my voice if I open my mouth. And even if she didn't, what do I say? Can I help you? She says again. I don't move. Maybe I'm not here. Maybe I can just disappear. Is anything wrong? And I want to say yes. Something is wrong. Yeah. I wouldn't be standing here with my tongue in pieces if something wasn't wrong. I stood there in front of the desk, staring at the secretary. She was getting a little nervous now. I pulled myself together. Christ, old Jack is not worth losing my mind over. I leaned forward. I put my hands in my desk. The secretary leaned forward too. She was ready to listen. I was ready to speak. I was gaining confidence. I said to myself, you're okay now. Everything's fine. I took a deep breath and threw up all over her desk. Confident, easy, in control. Lovely to look at, delightful to hold. I always wanted to be like that. I'm a jackass. I do everything ass backwards. My mother used to say I had the touch of a blacksmith. But I felt better after that. I felt a lot better. I really did pull myself together, though. I got back to work. I started seeing somebody else. A plumber. Yeah. No brains. Lots of money, no problems, no expectations. I was on the road to recovery.
Thank you, Kate. That was really, really lovely.
I should have said that she's absolutely steaming drunk when she did this monologue.
Oh, it's marvellous. Really enjoyed that. I'd love to see the whole play. How long is it as an actual piece?
I think it's a full 3-act play. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, she's a great character and you portrayed her fabulously. I just wanted to let you know that for Goalie, that came into us in week 1, we got to hear their great short play with Oisin Robbins, and they just about 2 days ago launched their new one. It's by Tara Finn. It's Inside You Stay, and it's starring Emer Finan, and it is really worth watching, and you'll get them on their For Goalie Facebook page if you want to have a look. It's really enjoyable. So Kate, before we hand over to our guests from Dramsoc who have some games lined up for us, I'd just like to say thank you. Have you any more information for us on the world of theatre?
Yeah, so in the kind of wider world of theatre, I suppose the biggest thing that's come out in the last week is Cameron Mackintosh is closing all of his productions for the remainder of the year. So that's everything Hamilton, Phantom of the Opera, Les Mis, the real big players in the world of theatre won't be reopening this year, and all his staff has been made redundant for that time. So it's expected that the other big theatre companies of the world are going to follow suit. So we're probably not going to see the return of Broadway, the West End, or other big institutions until the beginning of next year. And to add to that, Andrew Lloyd Webber has announced a total revamp of the Phantom of the Opera. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes down when it does return.
Wow, that's some really interesting news. So here we come to the end of another big question, which, just to let you all know, is going to move to its new time slot of 6 to 8 p.m. on a Monday with Socks Unboxed for the summer. So you'll still get your debates, you get your guest speakers, you'll find out about all the things that are happening. And also next Wednesday, our Hub Grub and Get Crafty are merging into the Crafty Hub, which will feature Pet of the Week, which is very popular, lots of interesting information from nature, great cooking as always, because Lily is always on the job for cooking, and Ashna will be doing more of her cosmetics from your kitchen, which is not unlike extracting DNA from a banana. I would like to take this opportunity to say a big thank you to Yannick and to Sarah for joining us today. I'll just pop you in the spotlight there, Yannick, for your last.
You're welcome. It was a lot of fun to try out the experiment with you, and it was a very interesting discussion.
Thank you. And Sarah, there you are. You're on Spotlight.
No, yeah, thanks for that. It was nice to join you, and winning at a game I'm usually terrible at.
Exactly. And now you'll be able to order something nice for yourself from your nearest restaurant, of which there are lots of restaurants providing very nice food to people. So my last question to you, Kate, is tell me, who have we in the house that is going to take us on a great game journey?
So we have Noel and Noel Minogue and Oisin Parslow from Bramstock. They're going to be playing some Quiplash with us.
I'm just putting Noel into the spotlight there to tell us what on earth is this game you intend to play with us.
So we're going to try Quiplash. So it's a game you can play on your phone. So like everyone else can play it on their phone, and then it's kind of like Cards Against Humanity. So you get like questions. So you have to give the funniest answer, and then you vote. You all vote when those answers come up there.
Absolutely fantastic. And just before we start on that, I believe that you had a virtual AGM recently that went on for 3 or 4 days. It sounds like one of those ancient Irish great occasions when you celebrate for 3 or 4 days. And how did it all work out for you?
Yeah, it was perfect. We used Zoom. We staggered it over 3 days, so we weren't like on a 8-hour Zoom call, so it worked out quite well.
Very good. Of course, you had to miss out on sharing pizza with each other, which I'm sure was very sad. So I am going to have you any other news for us from the drama world before I turn off recording, now that you're with us, Noel?
I don't. I'm afraid I think Kate hit it all there.
Fantastic. But the society is all ramping up to be ready for September, October.
Yeah, so I actually met with some of the new committee this morning, so they definitely have plans, so they're ready to hit the ground running. So
that is fantastic. Good. So that's marvelous news.